We should never take impeachment off the table. We should never take, where we see law breaking, we should never take accountability off the table.
This nonsense from like AOC that he should be impeached is just absurd. Absurd. There's no... Okay, get back to me when you've read the Constitution or get a law degree, because you sound like an absolute...
The shockwave from Megyn Kelly hit with such force and suddenness that it felt like it flipped the entire stage upside down. The aftermath wasn't easy to navigate, but it was cinematic, like a full-scale explosion unfolding in real time. Typically, AOC commands the spotlight, but in this instance, she managed to ignite a fire using little more than a subtle gesture. A mere paper fan.
Absolutely no ground to impeach the president. He 100% was within his constitutional authority and his congressionally authorized authority to do what he did on Saturday. Okay, but as for whether it's a good idea, that's a debate we should be having. And look, you know, if we could get congressional approval of the specific action, fine, I'm okay with that too. If you want to bring it to Congress, go ahead and see how that goes. I don't think it's necessary.
What happened next was completely unexpected, leaving everyone reconsidering their perspective. After this heated exchange, you're bound to see AOC in an entirely different light. Megyn Kelly thrust AOC into the spotlight, putting her center stage. The ensuing clash was anything but friendly. Into the fray stepped a participant who was clearly unprepared for the intensity of the moment.
AOC and see what she has to say.
Reaction on what's going on with Elon Musk and President Trump on Twitter right now.
Oh man, the girls are fighting, aren't they? I think this breakup we've been seeing a long time coming, but we'll see what the impacts are of it. Let's just...
Okay. You're so cool referring to them as the girls. She's above it all, Ben. That's what she's trying to telegraph. You see, she's the adult in the room, the one out there who does a preacher accent, and she leans into her fake Latina accent. And like, she's the adult.
Kelly zeroed in on AOC with precision, exposing small cracks in her otherwise flawless facade. With a relentless, almost chaotic focus, like a toddler tearing into fresh wallpaper with scissors, she methodically dismantled the perfection on display. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button if this heated takedown caught your attention. Under Megyn Kelly's sharp scrutiny, AOC transformed in an instant. She went from the lively Instagram live star smiling and thanking her fans while sipping wine to someone who looked as if she had just realized the Wi-Fi password had suddenly changed.
Radical left, who's gone beyond all the identity issues. I mean, don't get me wrong. The person I'm going to show you is 100% wrapped in all of them, but like genuinely believes the Hitler fascist stuff, like is distraught because they really think Hitler just got reelected. Most of them were just pretending, but then there are the ones who genuinely believe it, like AOC.
We are about to enter a political period that will have consequences for the rest of our lives. Donald Trump has talked about turning the military on U.S. citizens that he deems his domestic political enemies.
This is the unfiltered reality of AOC. Her approach relies almost entirely on instinct, with little in the way of concrete plans or evidence to back it up. Exaggerated gestures have become the hallmark of her TikTok presence, capturing attention in a world that often ignores deeper policy discussions. Audiences are drawn not to substance, but to her ability to turn a 30-second clip into something that feels part Broadway spectacle, part TED Talk presentation. Megyn, however, doesn't waste a second on empty theatrics.
Has been out there on this, I don't know if it's campaign trail, I don't know what we're calling it, but this like Fight the Oligarchy tour with Bernie Sanders, from which, you know, venue to venue, she travels first class, sipping her champagne, you know, in the first class cabin as the losers and plebs walk by to coach. They're the ones she's really fighting for. And she's decided to ramp up her anti-Trump rhetoric in a way she's done before, but that could be deeply problematic for her if Trump actually decides to pay some.
Her razor-sharp precision can make even the boldest politicians reconsider their entire approach. And that's exactly what happened here. AOC walked in assuming her usual routine would carry the day. Grand gestures, fiery passion, and perhaps a dramatic declaration comparing climate change to a credit card bill. Megyn wasn't having it. Step by step, she dismantled AOC's performance until the lawmaker seemed more like a student fumbling through a book report than a seasoned politician.
Today that AOC may be getting ready to run for president, that her team is looking, and I know you've said she could potentially do it, but her team is looking at maybe Senate. Chuck Schumer is, I think, going to be 78 when he runs for re-election. That's really old, and the Democrats seem to get that now. Or she might just go for president. And at the same time, this happened today. The Republicans in the House introduced a resolution to honor Charlie Kirk. It condemns the murder.
Facts, incisive reasoning, and unwavering focus cut through AOC's statements faster than glitter in a washing machine. Every strike landed perfectly, leaving no weak points. The audience wasn't entertained, they were mesmerized. Megyn's calm, methodical takedown exposed AOC's facade like trying to assemble IKEA furniture without instructions. Most importantly, in contrast to AOC's self-described image as humorous, confident, and stylish in expensive sneakers, Megyn made her appear just human. Even a polished Apple product launch would look amateurish compared to AOC's carefully curated image.
Of course he's lying and abusing and manipulating the stock market too. When he talks about rapists and criminals, he should look in the mirror.
Clearly saying that Donald Trump is a racist. Rapist. She also thinks he's a racist. He's all the ists. But here, she's in deep trouble because he was not found liable for rape. And George Stephanopoulos just had to pay ABC some $15 million to President Trump to settle a defamation law.
Megyn, however, saw right through it. She exposed every flaw for the world to see. AOC's flawless "I'm the Future" act suddenly felt less like destiny and more like a poorly rehearsed audition that somehow made it to C-SPAN. The impact was sharp. Megyn wasn't just critiquing policy, she was addressing a performance that no one else dared challenge. She pulled back the curtain as others gasped, dissecting her points, the pauses, the hand gestures, the calculated emotional moments. Watching it unfold was like discovering the Wizard of Oz behind the smoke and mirrors. Once revealed, there was no going back.
There's AOC, who said the following.
Were ignorant, uneducated, and sought to disenfranchise millions of Americans. Far from the working tirelessly to promote unity, unquote, asserted by the majority.
Then she voted no. She refused to join in the resolution. Consequences to her politically for doing that?
I would love to have her run for president of the Democratic side. It's a contrast, right? What you see is what you get. If that's what you think can lead this country, is that where your values are? Is that what you think will continue to promote American freedom and liberty?
Reactions were split. Half the audience laughed, the other half froze. Meanwhile, a Brooklyn barista reportedly insisted that AOC was still fantastic, but the illusion had been shattered. Megyn proved that the emperor was not just underdressed, the entire act had been exposed. The timing couldn't have been better. In an era of influencer politics, where viral moments are often mistaken for genuine change, Megyn's takedown dismantled the foundations of AOC's carefully constructed image. The truth hit hard, like a ton of bricks, as Megyn called her out. Only genuine clapbacks carry weight. Everything else is just noise.
This is relevant is because a congresswoman who you may know as Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has been telling us for years that she is from the Bronx. And recently she had a fight with President Trump over tweet, text, truth, whatever. And she played tough and said, "Oh, don't you mess with me. I'm a Bronx girl. And we eat Queens boys for breakfast." Because that's where Trump was raised, in the Queens. And respectfully, AOC. Well, that's real cute, except she only lived in the Bronx until she was age.
Political jazz in its rawest form. The sting landed squarely. AOC likely thought she could spin things the usual way, rally her supporters, play the victim, sprinkle in a few hashtags. But this round was different. How often are politicians actually held accountable for their performance rather than their policies? Megyn had the answer. She exploited AOC's greatest strength, her ability to command attention, and turned it into a liability. Once captivating, AOC's theatrics now came across as overdone, almost desperate, and desperation is the fastest way to lose political credibility. By the end, it was impossible not to notice the so-called voice of the people was now overextending with every mic grab, much like discovering that your favorite action hero
of her childhood, 1 through 12th grade, in Yorktown Heights, which is Westchester. And by any measure, it is richer, nicer, and more white collar than the Bronx, with all due respect to my friends in the Bronx. She's pretending to be a Bronx girl because she wants this to be part of her origin story, the same way as she wants now to be called Alexandria Ocasio.
Has relied on a stunt double all along. Here's the real twist. Even Megyn wasn't at her peak. On a relaxed Tuesday, she sipped coffee while dissecting a politician as if it were mere warm-up exercises. Now imagine if she truly went all in on AOC. It wouldn't be an interview, it would be a gleeful political demolition. Once Megyn takes center stage, the internet erupts. Timelines are flooded with memes, late-night shows scramble for jokes, and desperate attempts to erase evidence fail spectacularly. The only move left for AOCC at that point would be full-on performance mode, jazz hands and all. Then the curtain dropped hard. Many paused to ask, wait, was this all just a show? As the illusion shattered, what stunned everyone most was how quickly the mood shifted after Megyn's methodical examination of AOC right before she had been considered untouchable.
Everyone knew her as Sandy Cortez when she was growing up, and her lies are coming to the fore. So, among other things, Benny Johnson, who's hilarious, and he's a great Twitter follow and has a great show, went to Yorktown Heights just to take a look and to talk to some folks there about AOC and what Yorktown is like and so on. And now some of her schoolmates, separate and apart from Benny, are weighing in on her.
The internet's golden symbol, seemingly incapable of error. The crowd might have applauded as if she had just closed a Broadway finale, even when AOC fumbled through policy points, twisted metaphors into chaos, or made wild analogies about millionaires devouring planets. Megyn, however, wasn't there to cheer. She dismantled the illusion, leaving the room tense and awkward. The reality of performance politics is simple. The audience must believe the act for it to work. Megyn exposed every string with surgical precision. Imagine AOC stepping into one of her signature speeches, commanding a covert orchestra with wide eyes, dramatic pauses, and sweeping hand gestures. Normally it captivates. This time, every move felt rehearsed, almost robotic, as Megyn revealed the method behind the magic. Once you see where the trick lies, it stops being impressive and starts being embarrassing. Recognition hit instantly. Control is the foundation of AOC's brand.
Place, not necessarily fourth place. This is just, I'm going to start with as the fourth possibility, but I've got 4 total, and you'll decide what order they go in. I'm going to kick it off with AOC. Okay. Her real name is Sandy Ocasio. This is what she went by her entire life, Sandy Ocasio. And only when she decided to run for office did she decide to suddenly become Alexandria Ocasio Cortez and lean into her Puerto Rican history, where her mother was born in Puerto Rico, but her father was born in New York City. And she decided to tell us sob stories about how she's from a poor family and she was living, paycheck to paycheck. Meanwhile, she was raised in a Tony part of Westchester called York.
It dictates the tone, message, and impact of every gesture, every appearance, and Megyn stripped it all bare. The crowd might have applauded as if she had just closed a Broadway finale, even when AOC fumbled through policy points, twisted metaphors into chaos, or made wild analogies about millionaires devouring planets. Megyn, however, wasn't there to cheer. She dismantled the illusion, leaving the room tense and awkward. The reality of performance politics is simple. The audience must believe the act for it to work. Megyn exposed every string with surgical precision. Imagine AOC stepping into one of her signature speeches, commanding a covert orchestra with wide eyes, dramatic pauses, and sweeping hand gestures. Normally, it captivates. This time, every move felt rehearsed, almost robotic, as Megyn revealed the method behind the magic. Once you see where the trick lies, it stops being impressive and starts being embarrassing. Recognition hit instantly. Control is the foundation of AOC's brand. It dictates the tone, message, and impact of every gesture, every appearance, and Megyn stripped it all bare. Megyn, however, didn't revel in her victory. She simply leaned back, perhaps sipping her coffee like a queen, and watched the chaos unfold. That's the allure of a perfect takedown. Strike once, and the ripple does all the work. The clips circulated endlessly, memes flooded. The deal was sealed by the memes. On the internet, subtleties vanish. It consumes jokes whole, and Megyn served a feast. AOCC's dramatic hand-wave videos were set to circus music. Every prolonged pause became an awkward silence, and captions read, "Oscar-worthy drama, zero policy." Once the internet digests a performance, credibility isn't just damaged. It's roasted, wrapped, and archived forever. Suddenly, everything seemed forced. Every pause looked staged. Every statement sounded less like politics and more like a recited audition monologue. And then it all crumbled. AOC's carefully crafted image was shattered. Her supporters scrambled to patch it, but Megyn remained the calm observer who had exposed the illusion. Even the media, long protective, finally acknowledged what they had quietly suspected. The performance wasn't impressive, the wires and stage mechanics were obvious, the act had been unmasked, and Megyn was the only one bold enough to carry out the demolition.